brightly.
Joining us from the East Coast or the West Coast, the morning or the afternoon. Appreciate you all giving us some time to walk through this really important presentation. We're titling it, Taking the Next Step on Your Events Journey, all about upgrading to Event Manager. So as you might have seen from a couple of different communications, really the overarching message for this presentation is that 3X, or Active Data Calendar as you might know it, that product is actually going to be retired here shortly. And we today are going to be talking through what actually is happening, why is this happening, what Event Manager looks like, and the opportunity for your organization to take that next step with Event Manager. And then we're going to have some follow-up and Q&A time along with a live demo of Event Manager. Just some housekeeping items before I turn it over to our speakers today. If you've ever attended a Zoom webinar, that is what we are using right now. And a couple of things on that. So as you probably have figured out, the only people who have the ability to speak live are going to be those panelists and those speakers. So if you as an attendee have a question or have any concerns, please feel free to utilize the chat and Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar. You can find that just by hovering your mouse towards the bottom of the screen. Also, like I mentioned, we will have time for a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in as soon as you have them. If you'd like to wait to the end, feel free to do so as well. But we will address any and all of those questions towards the end of the presentation, either in a live format or we will write you back. So if you can go to the next slide, Raven. So I'm going to introduce our speakers today, and they are going to be our guides down this journey, if you will. So we've got first Ms. Raven Sykes, who's a senior solutions consultant. She is a product expert, knows the industry, the ins and outs of event management, facility scheduling, and all different kinds of industries. And she's going to be really the leader of today's presentation. And then we also have Mr. Gary Snyder, who a lot of you probably have worked with in the past, but he is really our product expert, more on the support side. And so Gary will really be answering most of the questions if you all send them into chat or the Q&A feature. So I'm going to turn it over to Raven. Again, feel free if you guys have any questions to utilize the chat or Q&A feature at the bottom. Raven, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. And again, welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join us along to discuss this Event Manager option for those who are looking to understand what this is and how we can position you guys as we go through this transition. But to give you guys just a quick outline of what to expect today in this agenda, you can see, one, we're going to be talking about why we're here, sort of what led to this conversation, and then we'll pivot into helping you understand what is Event Manager as we transition you to the solution to help continue with your event management. And then we'll also highlight some of the next steps in terms of upgrading to Event Manager, what to expect, and then some Q&A here at the end as well throughout the whole presentation. Certainly, as Zach mentioned, utilize the chat to bring up any questions as we go along. So let's start with why we're here today. And so one, just a key point, Active Data, or 3X, as you may know it, is going to be retiring here in December of this year, December 15th. And what led to this, we'll talk about some of those, events that happened. But recently, there were several malicious files that were uploaded to clients' websites and through vulnerabilities through our third-party software for that product. There were security breaches, and this created an issue that here at the DOOT, we took the necessary steps to mitigate that, at least for the immediate risk. But from a long-term standpoint, we realized that this would be an ongoing issue and that we wouldn't be able to really resolve it within the current platform of active data. So what we've done is we've decided that we must move on this very quickly, and that to retire the active data calendar product. But that certainly doesn't mean we want to leave you with nothing in place to transition through that. So that leads to what is Event Manager. And so this is a solution that we're going to position as a replacement. And this solution is designed to help you carry on with your event management process, from receiving requests to putting in things to be scheduled and reserving spaces, managing workflows, so that approval and making sure things that are necessary for that event to go on to the calendar are in place, as well as being able to manage things like registration and ticket sales, those type of things to promote and highlight events on the calendar. So that's what we're going to discuss today, this Event Manager. We're really excited to show you what we have. And so with that, I'm going to jump into a demonstration here live so that you can see the solution. And then again, as questions may come up, you can utilize the chat, and we'll address those as they come up. So hopefully now you guys will be able to see some, I'm going to start with some calendar examples to give you what the interface will look like in terms of what you can share either internally from a private calendar standpoint to your own public facing calendar that you would choose to display on your website. So this here is a client example. What I've done is I pulled up the list view, and you'll notice within Event Manager, there's going to be 3 different options in terms of when someone needs to find information, they can come and search and sort by these different categories or location or a combination of these measures to filter out and look at what events do they want to learn about, what's on the schedule based on availability. This other client option, you can see with the look and feel, some of the things that you'll be able to do is certainly allow the view to, the calendar will, if you will, to mirror what's more or less on your website. So the branding and look and feel feels very similar. So as I scroll down this client example, what you'll find is this is more the calendar grid view that we're showing here. And so again, if I'm looking to find information, what schedule, when, and where, I can come to these different calendar views that you can make an option. And this allows me to get all the details as it relates to these different events, what time, the date. And then of course, there's also the ability to share and promote this event information where I may want it to show up on my own personal calendar as an end user, or share it out on different social media and blog sites. So this one here, this is another client example, just again, to give you a different variety of the different looks and feels. But this here is the summarized view. And this again gives a little bit more of a summary view. So when I go to the calendar and I filter, I can get more of the details like the name, the description you can see here in the summarized view. And then again, I can also sign up to receive emails, updates, or set reminders, or add it to my own personal calendar. So multiple ways to, again, continue with sharing the information about these events so that people can know and find out. And that's the most critical detail, as we know, when it comes to scheduling and managing the events. So let's jump into some of the details of how these events can get put into the system. So what I did here is I just pivoted over to the form that when you guys set up the system in Event Manager, you can basically map out how some of your events can be put into the schedule when someone needs to reserve a space. Now, typically we know this may involve, maybe several people, maybe it involves your internal staff. So however you kind of structure the process, the goal is to have it where if someone needs to schedule a room, they can come to a form similar to this, and they can go through and fill out the necessary steps to reserve the space, the date, and time. Now, I do want to point out when you guys have this set up, there will be some sort of standard default areas or sections on the form. However, it is configurable to allow you to only include the areas that you need as it relates to event and details. Those are kind of the bare minimum. And then certainly if you want to add some of these other components, you can if necessary. So let's kind of start through some examples. So the first area of event details is mainly where you would see like the title, maybe a description. So when we look at the calendar, this helps to know what is this event, what is it about. So these are critical details just to help educate those who may be interested in the event. Location and time is going to be the next area that is critical. So, you know, I can go about this one or two ways. I can come in here and I can start typing in a few characters, and that will pull up a list of spaces based on what I've selected. And I can select that space, or I can say, hey, I don't know what space is open, but I definitely know the date and time that I want to schedule my event. So this way I can choose the date and time and select those for time frame. And that'll allow me to come in and do a quick search and have the system tell me what's available on that date and time. So this way I don't have to worry about conflicts or anything. I can just select what's open because if it's already booked, it will not show up in this list. So I select the room that I want to schedule this event for. And I can also see if there's any additional cost associated with that as well. Categories and keywords is probably going to be the next critical thing, because this can help with organizing the calendar. So you have the ability to have what we call categories to essentially isolate or organize what's going to be viewed by these different categories. But also if you have specific workflows, like for approval purposes, hey, if it's an event that falls in this category, it has a different workflow than someone else. So those are components that you want to factor in as well. Additional information is one area we see that may come up if you need to ask more specific questions or get more details that you may not necessarily get off with the other areas in the system. So this is, again, fully customizable where you can insert anything that you would feel applicable based on that. We have the sell item area here. So this will help manage registration, ticket sales. And so if I open up this section here, this is where putting in the details about what is it that we're registering people for. So you can include specific verbiage. You can also decide, is this a registration or is it something where people have to actually purchase a ticket? And we do have options to link any payment gateways to this, so that if there is the need to process payment, there will be the option for that. But this allows you to control and keep track of how many people can sign up or attend utilizing this area on the form. The last area you can see here is just where if there's any photos, logos, or any other attachments that may be relevant to associating with this event. This would be another area where the requester could upload that. So going through, again, some of the fields that may or may not be critical, want to highlight here that really the main two are event details and location and time. So those are kind of the bare minimum. But once those details are filled out and submitted, this will allow you to have the event go through either approval workflow for to get approved before it goes on the calendar, or if you're an administrator, let's just say you put in events to go straight to the calendar, then that would be the other option as well. So let's just jump into maybe some of the back-end options here. So one critical detail I wanted to also kind of highlight is the specific workflows. You know, some of you may have just, you know, one basic workflow for everything. It comes to the same person or group. And then some of you may have specific workflows that say, hey, if it's in this space and this type of event, it's going to follow this process. So I'm going to just pull up here where you can isolate those components, starting with maybe locations. So if there's certain spaces that need to get approved by certain people as opposed to others, This is where you can map that out. You can also factor in, as we talked about, categories. So in this case here, all the athletic spaces and all athletic type events will have to follow this very sequence approval process that says, hey, it needs to go to these 5 people in this specific order. So this is, again, just where you would set up those specific workflows for those of you who have that need. And that'll allow you to just manage your events without having to manually go in and check. You can have specific workflows around those type of options. The other piece to this is going to be critical is your event import option. So this will help in, one, populating a lot of the details that you already have in your current platform with the 3X system. And so part of what we'll do in implementation is moving your information over by setting up what we call a persistent import. And this will allow us to build a bulk of the information that includes location, some of the details about the event itself. And so this would be a way for you to, one, get a lot of that and continue with your calendar. So again, we've minimized any disruption to you on the client end. And then of course, you can use this for other imports as well. So that would be another key component that we'll certainly work through. The other thing that you certainly may have in your current platform that we'll want to kind of revisit as well is giving you the option to set up sharing feeds. So sharing feeds will allow you to choose to push the content, the event information, to other platforms so that you can maybe display it on other calendars or utilize maybe another display within your website. So in terms of outlining what that includes here, these are just some examples where you would pick, the type, whether it's a RSS feed, syndication, or quick links. You can certainly isolate, the events. So what type of events do we want set to this display? We can also factor in location as well, just to more or less control or target what details and what events you want going out to those other displays. So I know those are some of the top key components in terms of being able to manage not one, the events that are coming in, but also things that you want to publish out and display to others. And as I mentioned, the calendar displays, you do have the ability to have a public sort of interface for your, your outside users or just general public. But then you can also have a private internal display of these same events that are more or less going to be private, hidden from the public. And so that'll be another option to kind of have these specific site branded calendars to control who can see what. And then, of course, you'll have the option to outline the look and the feel and the layout so that, again, it can mirror closely what you have on your website. And that's kind of a broad overview of the solution in terms of what we want to present to you. So with that, if there's no other questions, I know some of you may be utilizing the chat. What I wanted to do now is pivot into some of the what happened next details. And so, of course, for those of you who are able to join, and those who may not, we will certainly provide you with a recording of today's demonstration so that you can either go back and revisit and listen to this or share with others who were probably not able to join. And so we'll provide you with that. We'll also provide you with details in terms of an invite to a kickoff call. We have it scheduled for November 11th. So from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern time to help you get your implementation process started. And these details will be provided in follow-up emails here in the next couple of business days. So certainly we'll keep you in tune with that to let you know when to expect those. But that's more or less some of the key components that you guys can expect following today's presentation. Again, a recap of what we covered today. So the main thing for those who are on the active data 3X current system. We will be retiring that here December 15th next month. So we definitely want to minimize any disruption. The main reason for that is, of course, we had some security issues with a third-party aspect with that platform. And so what we've done is to address long-term issues. We've made the suggestion to promote our event manager so that we could provide you guys with a seamless transition for your organization so that you can remain, have a calendar system and keep that process intact. And so at this point, I'm going to open it up for a Q&A. And so again, if you are able to, if you do have questions, please utilize the chat and we will review those and get you an answer if we can.
Awesome. Thanks, Raven. Like Raven was just saying, we are going to hang out here as long as it takes to answer any and all questions. If you have them, please direct them to the Q&A or the chat feature. If you don't, feel free to hop off and take some time back in your day. But again, we will stay on as long as there are questions to be answered. So Gary, I know that you answered this to Chris himself or herself, apologies. Would you mind just answering aloud live so that everyone can hear it? The question is Event Manager a hosted solution or do we install on our servers?
No, it is a complete SaaS solution, so we host every part of the program.
Perfect. So Gary, I'm going to toss this one either over to you or to Raven. Todd asks, can a sub-calendar, so to speak, be created for individual departments? An example would be the library. So I think what he is referring to is maybe different sites having different calendars. Would you mind elaborating on how Event Manager does that?
Sure. I was actually just typing it out, so it's best to have everyone hear it. Yes, Event Manager does allow for unlimited sites, so you could have a main calendar and like a library calendar or an athletics calendar. We also do allow that to roll up to your main calendar. So that's a yes. Now I do know it may be some type of financial cost to additional calendars.
Perfect. Thanks, Gary. We had another question just come in around information automatically being brought over from Active Data Calendar or 3X to Event Manager. And Gary, I know that you've addressed this in previous webinars. Would you mind just talking through just simply what that process looks like of exporting information from Active Data and importing it into Event Manager?
Sure. So in 3X, we would have you go to your Events tab, and from there you can export an XML file that would be directly given into Event Manager. And as Raven was showing us, we'd be able to import it natively right into the program. Now, keep in mind, there will be some things that aren't brought over from that export. Mainly that is registration data.
Perfect. All right. Had another question come in. Is there a limit on how many students can register for a particular session? And I think we could even expand that further to say, is there a limit on how many registrants can register for a particular session? Is there any sort of limit on that, Gary?
I do not know that there's a limit. I've seen a couple thousand be used in registration. It works just fine. So I want to say no there, but I haven't seen 10,000, 20,000. So we'd have to test that one out.
Got it.
Which one do you want to do next?
I was just thinking about that. So I'm going to let you read through some of them. I'm sure you've had the ability to read through all, if not most of them, and I'll let you kind of tackle or punt to Raven if she might be the better person to answer.
Sure. Let's start out with Chris's question. He imports and also exports to SQL on their end. We currently have digital signage across campus that gets event data from our active data calendar. We need to make sure they can still continue with that. So we do not allow you to export from the database itself. I'm wondering if we can help you get that digital signage up with maybe an XML share instead, but we do not allow SQL exports. And Marty has our primary use of the solution is recurring events. This allows standard template language for all events, placement testing, and quickly populate reoccurrence or ad hoc schedule in our calendar. The primary distinction of our solution over primary distinction of this solution over our other solutions is that it allows modifying capacity for specific event occurrences without impact those other events in the reoccurrence sequence. So yes, we do allow reoccurring. We allow what we call it to reoccur forever. That's really about 360 events in actuality. And we do allow you to edit individual occurrences within that those series. I hope that answers it. Or if you want a demo, we can have Raven go in and show you the reoccurring events. But hopefully that answers it. All right. And does Event Manager offer single sign-on capabilities? Yes, we do. We can connect to anything that is SAML 2.0 compatible. And it's a way to create an individual calendar whose content is filtered based on category. Okay, so much like 3X, we have a quick links that will give you a predefined search to the front end of the calendar. You can use that to base it off a category. And we also have searching right on the front where you can base it off a category. Hopefully that answers that question. What registration data won't be automatically sent over? Past registration or current? All registration data won't be exported through the XML. So any event that had registration on it in the future, we'd have to go back into Event Manager to each event and add registration back. Chris says, is digital signage is 4Winds that helps? Sorry, Chris, I've never worked with 4Winds, but I can do a little research and we can get back to you on that. how many users can we have at this base price? And active data was limited to 10. Yeah, we do not license by users anymore. So you can have unlimited users. And are we able to reserve custom reoccurring events, meetings that occur day of the week each time? Yes. So requesters can go in there and request a reoccurring every Wednesday for the rest of the year, the next 2 years, what have you. And then someone can go in there and approve those or deny those.
Hey, Raven, just because there have been a couple of questions about recurring events, would you mind popping back into Event Manager and showing how users or requesters might go about making those sorts of recurring event requests?
And while she gets there, I can answer Chris. I assume we can turn off registration option 1. I already have another registration system. Absolutely. Creating an event form is highly customizable. You can remove that sale items option right off it, and also not give anyone permissions to sale items right in the user's permissions. So that wouldn't be a problem. Normally when someone uses another registration item, they'll put it right in the description to go to this link to register. So.
Yeah. So to Zach's point and some of the questions in regards to recurring events. So what I just did here is I went back to the location and time area so that when you select, let's say, a date, and I'm just going to pick some time slots that we would like. There's an option here you can see that says repeat weekly. And this would work if you have kind of the same days or times that you want to schedule, like if it's Monday and Tuesday and Thursday, let's just say. And so if I click this little option here that says this little pencil icon, this allows you to tweak the calendar even more, because there may be certain dates within this that you don't want to have, or maybe you want this to go further out. Or if you have events that, let's say, don't necessarily follow a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday type pattern, maybe it's just non-consecutive dates throughout this time period. So this allows you to just pick random dates at will. So you can do that as well. And everything is sort of managed within a series. So you don't have to submit individual events for each one of these that occur. So hopefully that gives some a visual or context for those who are asking a lot about the recurring events and how those would be scheduled. Certainly when someone goes in to approve the events, they can manage that approval at the workflow level, but also, if it's something that is a series of events, you can approve the whole series or make distinction between that isolated or single event.
Awesome. Thanks, Raven.
Yeah.
And Todd has a question. Can users be limited to certain buildings, for example, as opposed to having access to all building spaces on campus? We don't have a restriction like 3X does, where you can put in a couple users that can only see or select that building. But we do have, how we handle that is you can make separate sites, have that location only on that on a certain site, and not give certain people permissions to that to that site specifically. Or a lot of people choose to just use the workflow or approval process to limit people. If someone selects a meeting room that is only for executives, then you can deny that at that point.
Awesome. Gary, that was rapid fire, so well done, sir. So that's a lot of questions that we have just run through. It doesn't look like we have any more in the backlog. So again, just gonna kind of chime in with the recurring message of, if we've answered all the questions that you all have, feel free to drop off. If you still have some remaining questions, or if you want to stay on and see if anyone else does have a question that might be relevant for you, feel free to do so. If we go a couple of minutes and it's silence, I'll come back on and we'll go ahead and end. So again, feel free to pop questions in the Q&A feature or the chat feature. If you just want to hang out and see if anyone else has any questions, feel free to do so. So by my count, it looks like we still have Chris and Cheryl Lynn on the call. Chris, it looks like your name has popped up a couple of times, so not sure if that's just a tech malfunction or if you've got some other people joining you as well. But we're going to give it one last call to see if there are any remaining questions from you guys. And if not, we will just go ahead and sign off.